What up? Bye. We back again with another video by DJ Mobile Auto Services. So this is a CS3 Lancer. I believe it's a 2006 model. Right, it's carried a 4G18. Customer complaint is that he was driving, and while he was driving, the vehicle decided to stall on him. So he decided to call the wrecker and bring the vehicle to me, right, so I could check it out for him. Right, so let's see what's good. Right, you got a battery pull is good. Right, let's do a little quick visual. Make sure everything is connected. I see that the cam is connected. The crankshaft is also hooked up. Right. First thing we're going to do in this crank no start is see if we can spark, fuel. What else could we check? But first, before we do anything, let's start the vehicle up and see if the ECU is communicating. Right. So I just want you to focus and look for the check light. Right. Key on, engine off. The check light is on. Let's see if it will come off. Right now crank, so I'm gonna crank now. Alright, so this vehicle don't have no tack on it, so I could crank and see if it's moving. Oh. So while I was cranking, the vehicle decided to start. So I'm not sure exactly how come. But just now the car was just cranking, I wasn't starting. Let's switch it off and see if it happens again. Oh, so you heard that it cranked, started, and then shut off. And now it won't start again. Let's see what's good. Right. So is it a ECU problem or a sensor problem? No check light is on. Yeah, seeing that the vehicle was just started while I was cranking, should I check the spark or fuel? I don't think so, because the vehicle started. Right, so what we could do is probably check for crank. Let me crank for spark, right, and see if we get any spark. Oh, let me see if I get something to hook up. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is check for spark. Right, I'm not going to check for fuel right now, so go ahead and crank. Stop. So we're not getting no spark, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is see if I'm getting power and ground coming to my coils. I will determine my next step, right? Most likely, if I'm not getting no signal coming from the ECU on the crank sensor, from the crank sensor side, is it ECU? Is it harness? Is it the crank sensor? I don't believe it's timing or anything like that. But I'm gonna just do my checks real quick, make sure I'm getting power and ground, go into my coil and take it from there. Right, this is a wave spark system where you get one coil firing based on the timing, right, into like number 1 will fire into number 4 and number 2 into number 3, whatever. Right, so as I said, let me just do my checks with a multimeter and figure out what's good. Right, so I said on this 3-wire I'm supposed to get ground of 12 volts, and the middle one's supposed to be my signal. So if I'm not getting proper signal going to my coil, it won't fire the spark, right? So the only thing control that is a crank, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's a crank or it's the cam, right? Don't hold me to that. So the next thing I want to do is some checks on the, I said sorry about the noise again, right? Do some checks. Right, on this pin here, I'm supposed to be getting key on, engine off. Supposed to be getting 12 volts. Right, 12 volts, which is battery voltage. And this one here, I'm supposed to be getting ground. And this middle one here is from ECU. Right, ECU is gonna ground this one. Right, and basically it's the same thing on number 4, right? So you're not getting no spark to the signal, right? I'm gonna ask yourself who controls the signal. this and touch the coil, I'm touching the middle pin. I'm getting ground. This one I'm supposed to get ground, which is number 1. And I'm supposed to get 12 volts on this pin also. So that tells me that I'm going to have to get a good circuit connection from the ECU to the coil, right? So I'm going to put that back together and I'm going to go after the crank and cam. Alright, so we hooked up to the crank and the cam sensor and also the number 1 coil. So I'm just going to put my leads to the side so it don't get caught up in anything. Alright, so let's make sure I have it on 10 volts, sorry. Let's put everything to 20. Alright, so I got my leads hooked up to my crank and cam signal. Right, I'm gonna put the key on. Right now, I just put the rulers down to mimic 5 volts. So when I put the key on, I expect my red to reach up to this ruler here and this blue to there, right? So as I said, I hooked up to the 5 volt signal. I saw let's stop this, right, real quick. Let's go back. So what I saw just now, I saw my cam signal went up to 5 volt, but my crank didn't, right? And when it went up, it dropped. So let's start all over and let's wiggle the wire and see if it will come up, or is it based on where the crank sensor is located at there. So let's crank it and see if that will come up real quick. Okay, let's see what's going on. So I am getting signal, right? Let's see if the timing is off or is it the crank sensor itself, right? So I'm going to shut this off real quick. But is it just a short in the harness or is it the crank sensor? So I'm not sure, but let me just check and make sure that it's not the timing, right? So I'm going to check that real quick. Let's take this off. All right, so the red is the crank, the cam, and the blue is the crank, right? So let's put this one over on top, right? So to have a known good waveform inside that let me know that my crank is 6. That's gonna come right here. Right, so if you count, it's supposed to be like 6 peaks between these two, let's see, peaks and valleys, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I am getting a 6 pulses, right? But the problem is where my cam is lining up compared to my known good. It's supposed to be like between here. So basically it's saying that my timing is off. Right now, let's see, I'm at 53 RPM, 58 RPM, right, which is, I have a good battery, so that shouldn't make a difference. That's matter of fact, I'm supposed to put on my ignition. Right, so let's do this over real quick. Take off all those rulers. I'm gonna put my key on. I'm gonna crank. So as you notice on my yellow trace, basically it's on the number 1 coil. I'm not getting no pulse at all, but I'm getting on my crank and my cam, right? But I believe that, as I said, based on the known good waveform, it looks like my crank sensor, I'm having an issue with my crank sensor. In fact, as I said, let me just put this down and I'll be able to discuss it better. Kind of hard to do it while I'm taping. But right now I'm the difference of 56 RPM, which is really off. I'm supposed to be lining up like half of the crank on this side and half on this side. So clearly something is up with my crank sensor. I'm not sure what. Right? Is it a short? Is it a matter of fact? Let me save this waveform first. So what I'm gonna do next, right? I want to take off these rulers. I want to unplug the crank sensor. I'm gonna do a wiggle test to see if there's an issue with the harness. Yes, I'm getting 5 volts on the. I'm just gonna wiggle the harness, and right now I'm wiggling the harness. I'm looking for any kind of dropouts, which I'm not seeing any. Can I do a resistance test on my crank sensor? If possible, can. But it don't look like there's an issue with mine. So based on the waveform, it's telling me that my timing is off. So I'm gonna just set it on top dead center on the crankshaft, and I'm just gonna pull this cover off and check to see if my timing really off. I don't believe it is a timing belt or anything like that has an issue. Could be a simple thing as the timing jumped, right? Or it's a faulty crank sensor. I'm not sure. As I said, I'm gonna just pop that cover off and let's see if I can diagnose this car real quick. Alright, so I'm just remove all these things off this vehicle. I'm gonna remove the timing cover off now and just check the timing of this vehicle and make sure that the timing didn't jump. That's causing this no start. Alright, for what? Already loosen the cover off. I'm just gonna put the light on. Yep, timing did jump. It looked like it. Is it? No, the timing didn't jump. Wrong call. So the timing didn't jump. So how come the vehicle isn't starting? So is it an electrical issue or is it a key phaser? I'm not sure. As I said, man, I'm gonna probably just pop off the rest of the timing cover and inspect the sensor. Could be that is a faulty sensor, man. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is drop off the cover, inspect the camshaft sensor, probably insert a new one while I'm at it, right? Because you actually see where the sensor is feeling. It's not a mechanical problem. It looks like it's electrical. It's not look like it's coming from the ECU. It's actually coming from the sensor itself that's feeling. So what we did is we went out, got a new crank sensor. This is the old one. Right, this is the new one. So while we had it, we changed the timing belt, the crank sensor, and the cam sensor seal. Right, and also reseal the sump because we saw some leaks. Right. Yeah. So this customer just had to do an underwash, and I believe he had to go for inspection. But yeah. So we're just going to put on this, work out the sensor, right, and start this vehicle and see what's up, right? Probably get some readings. I did not replace the harness jack, right? As I said, it's kind of hard, to get it. So I'm going to just pop this sensor back on and see the car starts. And once it starts, I'm going to take my reading and make sure that all is well. What I'm at also I did is replace the spark plugs, right? And also change the oil filter, air filter, right? That's what we do. So let me just pop this on and then see if we get the vehicle started up. Alright, so I'm sitting on top dead center on the camshaft, and if you look, I'm gonna zoom in down to the crank. See if I can get it to. Right, so each mark is 5 degrees. The first one is 15 before top dead center. The next one is 10 and the next one is 5, and that long stroke here is your top dead center, right? And you see how also, let's see if I can get it here, line up with that mark right here. Right, so with that now, I'll be able to put on my belt, make sure everything is good, and hopefully this vehicle will start and we have a happy customer.
6 hours later.
So we got a known good vehicle here. Customer came in with this vehicle recently, so we're gonna just hook up to the crank and the cam and on the number 1 plug wire, right? And I'm gonna scope it to get a reading so I could compare it to the vehicle that has the crank no start. So let's fire it up and get some readings. Alright, so you got the vehicle fired up. The blue is the crank sensor signal, and the red is the cam sensor signal, and the yellow is the number 1 coil plug wire, sorry. So I'm gonna invert this one. Let's see if we can invert this. In fact, I got it on positive, so let's do it on negative. Right, so we got this. Let's bring this up. Alright, so let's bring this up a little bit here. So you're watching and see when it's firing. And I'm just gonna record this capture real quick, and I'm gonna compare it to the one that's currently giving a problem. Right, he's gonna stop it right now, save this as a good waveform. With the crank sensor installed, right? Matter of fact, let me get the old one. This is the customer. Let me get the old one from the customer. So this is the old crank sensor here, right? And this is next one I had, I'm gonna try just now, and this is the new one that's installed. Start the vehicle. Right, so the vehicle wasn't doing that before, right? It wasn't cranking, but it wasn't doing that. Now I'm gonna unplug the new sensor that was installed. Let's see what's good. Right, so I got the scope fire up. Right, I got the red signal on the camshaft and the blue signal on the crankshaft and the yellow on number 1 coil. Right, I replaced all the plugs, remember that, right? So we got a fresh crankshaft, sensor inside, the timing belt, the seals, right? I got the screw fire up. So I'm just gonna start the vehicle up. Matter of fact, let's put this on. Let's change the setting on this real quick. Let's go on, not dark mode. Where is this? Vehicle up. Right. Key on. In fact, press the alarm. Right, key on. You hearing everything coming on. Let's try to start. Alright, not sure what that is about, but let's check it over and see what's good. That don't sound too promising. And from the looks of things here, it look like I'm not sure if my timing is off. Right, let's see if we could zoom in real quick. Yeah, it look like it is, because this is not supposed to line up directly. It actually look like it went retard, like it shift to the right. If I pull my rule here and I line up here, it's supposed to be more, the crankshaft supposed to be behind right here, where my cursor is at, right here. And if I bring this, let's say, to the end here, it's lining up on dead on, which is basically what, this is not what my known good is saying. I'm seeing this, it's seeing it firing now, but let's count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you gain the 6 pulses from the crankshaft. You also gain the spark. This yellow line here is this yellow line is my coil, not coil, my plug wire, right? But as you can see, basically my crankshaft is shifted to the right, and right means retard. So what I'm going to do is remove the cover and just recheck my timing. And what else can I do? I mean, this is a single cam. It shouldn't be hard to time a single cam, but let's check it over. Alright, so I removed the top timing cover. I'm going to attempt to turn the engine by hand. Make sure I line up my marks. Right, I'm good here. Let's zoom you in. Alright, I'm good there. Let me see what's going on. Let me see if I can get a close up. Yeah, it look like it's 15 degrees. Is it? Hold on. Let me see if I can get you all a close up. Real quick, let me zoom out. Alright, so I'm lined up here. Sorry about that. And right now I am about 15 degrees before top dead center. So how come that happened? Alright, so I gotta most likely let me turn again. If not, I will have to remove the cover and retime this engine and see if it will start. Right, so with the crank sensor installed, right? Matter of fact, let me get the old one. That's the customer. Let me get the old one from the customer. So this is the old crank sensor here, right? And this is next one I had. I'm gonna try just now, and this is the new one that's installed. Start the vehicle. Right. So the vehicle wasn't doing that before, right? It wasn't cranking, but it wasn't doing that. Now I'm gonna unplug the new sensor that was installed. Let's see what's good. Definitely cranking. So I'm gonna remove this crank sensor and take it from there. As you can see, it's like after 12. I'm out here still messing around with this engine. I got a crank no start, and I put in a, let's say, a brand new crankshaft sensor, which is this one, and it basically started to move funny and act funny. So I had another crank sensor, right, for next car I had. I put it in. I'm gonna try to start the vehicle now. I didn't hook up the belts, right? I'm just gonna tumble and see if it could start, right? So the belts are off, right? As I said, it's a used crank sensor that I have on. Yeah, so let's try to start the car and see what we get. Alright, so everything coming on. Car stops. So I'm gonna make a recommendation again that the customer has to get another crankshaft sensor, because this one that they supply me with is crap, and probably some Chinese aftermarket stuff, I guess. I'm not sure, right? Sorry about the focusing part. And I'm gonna let them know this is not working. Yeah, so let me just hook it up, right? As I said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. So basically my diagnosing is finished. I can scope it and see if my what I'm getting on my crank signal. Yeah, probably do that after. Right, probably do that tomorrow because it's late right now. So I gotta take this crank sensor out because this is one that I keep as a to test with.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Alright, so saga continues with the crank no start for this CS3 Lancer or CS2. Right, I removed the faulty crank sensor, returned it, got my money back. I got another one, but not from that supplier, another supplier. I'm gonna put that on, right? But based on what's happening last night, remember we was trying to start the vehicle and it was just like cranking, but it was cranking, but it wasn't starting, wasn't turning over. For some reason, it looked like the timing was off, right? And I put on a used one I had to just, verify what I was doing. So let's try to start it now. Right here, the fan is on. Right, so it did start with the used one I had, right? But I'm gonna replace that, take it out, pop this one on, right, and take it from there, right? So I want to call it a fix. I am going to call it a fix once I replace this part, and hopefully it works. And yeah, that's it. So sum it up: no crank, no start, Mitsubishi Lancer. Right, I wasn't getting no spark coming out from the coils or going to the coils. I wasn't getting no signal also, right? And the crank sensor is what was controlling that. Caused me to replace it. Alright, so until next time, take it easy. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. With the sensor replaced, right, as I said, I put a new one on, right? I'm not going to put on the belt on this one either because it's time consuming. So we're going to, oh snap, I got to put the battery pole on. Put the battery pole on. Right, so we're going to disarm the alarm. And let's listen to see if the vehicle starts. Yep. Oh, sorry about that. So with the vehicle start, I'm gonna put on the belt, make sure everything is good, put on the tire, call his customer, let them know that his vehicle is ready. We're gonna check for spark. Right, we're gonna pull number one. Hold on real quick. Take number one out. Right, to verify our fix, I'm gonna pull number one coil out, plug wire, sorry, and I'm gonna just put it to ground. Right now, we're gonna make sure that we get spark. Let me get the ground. Right, so let's set this to, doesn't matter. Let's get the car started, and we'll be able to keep it firing. As you can see, we're getting spark. Alright, so let me, of course it will give you a little misfire because number one was unplugged. I really gotta tell him about this fan module. Right, he has some other things he needs to do on his vehicle. So that definitely a fix. So I'm also gonna just check my, I don't need to do it, but I'm just gonna check it while I'm at it, which is my crank and cam signal on this vehicle, and see if that's unknown good. The vehicle starts real good. Let me just set up to do my crank and cam signal, capture crank and cam signal. Right, so since I verified that I'm getting spark with my spark tester, I set my scope up. Right, I'm gonna start the vehicle. Let's see. Channel 1 is the crankshaft sensor signal. Channel 2 is the cam. Channel 3 will be the injector. And number 4 will be the ignition coil, number 1. So let's start the vehicle up. Let's see if we get some reading. Right, so right now I'm not getting anything on my stop the capture and I will get back to you real quick when I get the injector. But so far it's looking good. On the blue trace is the crank, the red is the cam, the green is the injector, and the yellow is the coil. Right? Don't worry about the fan. The fan's module is having trouble, so he has to get that repaired. I'm gonna pause this, save this waveform, and I'm gonna call it a fix. So, as I said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, criticism, you know.